TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, deadly terror plagues the city of Holon, claiming the life of one Israeli woman. Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz vows to incapacitate anyone who rises to harm Israelis. Jordan's King Abdullah II raises alarm over the status of Christianity in Jerusalem. Deadly terror has once again plagued central Israel. An abhorrent terrorist who worked in central Israel murdered an 84-year-old Israeli resident of the city of Holon before fleeing the scene during the latter hours of yesterday afternoon.
היום בשעות אחר הצהריים התקבל דיווח על אישה ששוכבת לא רחוק מאיתנו על הכביש. שוטרים שהגיעו למקום, זו אישה חבולה בראשה, באמת הרפואה שהגיעו ניסו לאחר אותה ולצערנו נקבע מותה.
Police, in cooperation with the Israel security agency Shin Bet, immediately launched an investigation into the incident, and after comprehensive assessments, it concluded that the suspected assailant, a resident of the West Bank town of Kalkilia, had in fact committed a nationalistically motivated act of terror. Subsequently, following an extensive manhunt, the body of the terrorist was found after the assailant apparently committed suicide.
מיד לאחר האירוע אתמול, התובנות שלנו שהמחבל נמצא בבריחה מזירת האירוע, הופעלו ברחבי העיר חולון והעיר תל אביב מאות שוטרים ולוחמי מג"ב. האזרח שיצא מבית כנסת והלך פה על הרחוב, ברחוב דיזינגוף, הבחין בגופת אדם תלוי, הזעיק את המשטרה, כוחות שהגיעו למקום הבחינו בגבר שעונה לתיאורו של המחבל שהוא תלוי. כמה דקות לאחר מכן בוצע זיהוי, מסתבר שמדובר בגופת המחבל.
Meanwhile, Israeli security forces apprehended 5 members of the terrorist's family in the West Bank town of Kalkilia overnight. While the presiding assessment is that the terrorist acted out of his own volition, the 5 family members are currently being interrogated for the purpose of ruling out any involvement. In other yet related news, IDF ISA or Shin Bet and Border Police Special Operations Forces conducted their nightly counterterrorism activities throughout the West Bank districts of Judea and Samaria overnight as part of Operation Waves Breaker. While most of the operational activities reportedly occurred uninterrupted, in the West Bank village of Naamah, assailants fired fireworks and hurled Molotov cocktails toward the Israeli troops, who responded with crowd dispersal means. No injuries were reported among the Israeli forces, and at the culmination of the operational activity overnight, 11 terror suspects were apprehended and transferred to the ISA for further questioning. Meanwhile, amid the uptick of terror incidents, which intensified Israel's counterterrorism activity, Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz toured the IDF's Judea and Samaria division, where he held a situation assessment on the progress of Operation Waves Breaker.
אני מסיים סיור באוגדת איו"ש על רקע הפעילות המוגברת מול הטרור. בחודשים האחרונים עצרנו ופגענו במעל 1,000 טרוריסטים. שוחחתי עם המח"טים הגזרתיים וביקשתי להעביר להם את הערכתי ואת הערכתם של כל אזרחי ישראל לפעולות בשטח, והדגשתי בפניהם את חופש הפעולה המלא לסיכול, את הצורך לנהוג באופן נחוש, ממוקד וגם אחראי מול האתגרים המורכבים שבפניהם אנחנו עומדים.
It is worth noting that in contrast to the figures cited by Defense Minister Gantz, ISA Director Holon noted last week that over 2,000 terror suspects had already been arrested for questioning, which is in line with the accumulated figures recorded by TV7 in accordance with the IDF's released data. Nevertheless, irrespective of semantics, the Israeli Defense Establishment's determination to root out terror elements from the West Bank territories are clearly evident.
אנחנו פועלים באופן נחוש נגד הטרור ובאופן נכון בכדי לאפשר למי שלא מעורבים בו חיים של רווחה כלכלית ואזרחית. חשוב שיהיה ברור, כל מי שקם להורגנו דינו שלו יקום. נשים עליו את ידינו בעומק השטח, בצירים, במעברים, בכל שעה ובכל מקום. מחוללי הטרור הם אלו שפוגעים באוכלוסייה הפלסטינית בפרנסתה וביכולת לקדם את האינטרסים שלה. אנחנו נמשיך לפעול ככל שידרש.
Turning to New York City, where Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid held a series of meetings and speeches ahead of his scheduled address to the 77th Summit of the United Nations General Assembly tomorrow. While his first meeting included a short encounter with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, Premier Lapid held two subsequent meetings with King Abdullah II of Jordan and with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Subsequently, during King Abdullah's address to the UN General Assembly last night, the Jordanian monarch spoke at length about the need to resolve the Israel-Palestinian conflict.
In the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, peace continues to be elusive. Neither war nor diplomacy has held the answer to this historic tragedy. It is the people themselves, not politics and politicians, who will have to come together and push their leaders to resolve this. What would our world look like now if the conflict had been settled long ago? If walls had never gone up and people had been allowed to build bridges of cooperation instead? What if extremists had never been able to exploit the injustices of occupation? How many generations of youth could have grown up in the optimism of peace and progress?
King Abdullah continued by raising the alarm over the status of Jerusalem, highlighting the necessity of protecting the status quo, the Latin term for the situation as it existed before the war. And while the Israel-Jordan Peace Treaty, which cites the Washington Declaration, both highlight the present special role of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan in Muslim holy shrines in Jerusalem and Israel's commitment to respect its unique status, the Jordanian monarch proclaimed his kingdom to be a custodian of Christianity's sites as well.
Today, the future of Jerusalem is an urgent concern. The city is holy to billions of Muslims, Christians, and Jews around the world. Undermining Jerusalem's legal and historical status quo triggers global tensions and deepens religious divides. The holy city must not be a place for hatred and division. As custodians of Jerusalem's Muslim and Christian holy sites, we are committed to protecting their historical and legal status quo and to their safety and future. And as a Muslim leader, let me say clearly that we are committed to defending the rights, the precious heritage, and the historic identity of the Christian people of our region. Nowhere is that more important than in Jerusalem.
It is important to know that the Jordanian custodianship of Muslim shrines in the city dates back to 1924, when Jerusalem's Supreme Muslim Council granted the Hashemites the special role of custodian over the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Consequently, during Jordan's occupation of the city until 1967, the Hashemite kingdom adhered to the Omari Covenant, which includes an assurance of safety for churches and their related properties, granted by Caliph Omar ibn al-Khattab to the Byzantine Empire when the armies of Islam conquered Jerusalem for the first time in 637 AD. Consequently, in what Western strategists regard as an attempt to secure Western favor, Hashemite monarchs have successively invested both fiscal and political capital to preserve the status of Christian churches in Jerusalem.
Today, Christianity in the Holy City is under fire. The rights of churches in Jerusalem are threatened. This cannot continue. Christianity is vital to the past and present of our region and the Holy Land. It must remain an integral part of our future.
Another world leader to address the Israel-Palestinian conflict, including Jerusalem, was no other than Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who seized the opportunity to highlight that without a viable two-state solution, peace in the Middle East is not sustainable. Moreover, Erdogan, whose country under Ottoman governance ruled Jerusalem for 400 years between 1517 to 1917, highlighted the need to preserve the city's historic and cultural identity.
For a prevalent peace and prosperity in the Middle Eastern geography, we need to finalize the Israeli-Palestinian conflict once and for all through the establishment of a two-state solution. This is something that we strongly support. We have to preserve the historical and cultural identity of Jerusalem, and we have to respect Harem Sharif. And we have to stop the illegal settlements in the occupied regions through establishing a security for the lives and the commodities of the Palestinians.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. TV7 Israel is a donation-based ministry. Therefore, if you're blessed by our productions, please consider making a financial contribution that in turn will enable us to sustain our ongoing operations. Additionally, I would like to encourage you, pray for our persecuted brothers and sisters worldwide and for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you an Erev Tov U'Mevorach, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.